Hello my fellow crocheters. Today we're going to make a flower for our baby blanket. For those of you who are a little bit more experienced, I have the crochet pattern in the description below, but for those of you who are still learning, feel free to follow along. So we're going to start with the center of the flower, and then we're going to do one petal, and then I'm going to show you how to assemble it on the baby blanket. So for the center, we're going to go ahead and grab that yellow yarn, and we're going to form a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, you're going to hold your fingers like this, form an X, put your thumb in the middle of the X, flip it over. We're going to put our crochet hook underneath the first one, grab onto that second one, and pull it through. So we're going to tighten both of these, and this makes our slip knot. So keep in mind, the longer one is the working yarn and the short one is our tail. So make sure that your hand is in the correct position. Place the working yarn on your pinky, have your palm facing up, flip your palm over, put your index finger or pointer finger underneath of the working yarn, and then you're going to place your thumb and your middle finger near the hook. So for round one, we're going to do 4 chains and then form it into a ring. So to do a chain, you're going to grab onto that working yarn, have the hook facing away from your hand, turn it towards your hand, and then pull it through that little hole. So keep in mind, the harder you pull on this, the smaller the hole is going to be on your hook. So this is going to keep our crochet and in the correct position, but we kind of want to keep our hand relaxed so that it's not too hard to crochet. So we've done 4 chain, and then you're going to place your crochet hook into the first stitch, and then we're going to do a slip stitch. And in order to do a slip stitch, it's really easy. You just grab onto that working yarn and pull it through both loops. So here we have a little mini circle, and then for round 2 we're going to do an increase. So all an increase is we're going to put 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So you want to put your crochet hook not where the working yarn is coming out of, but the stitch next to it. So it's going to be about right here. So we're going to increase 4 for round 2. So to grab or to do a single crochet, you're going to grab onto that working yarn. So have your hook pointing away from your hand, turn it towards your hand. You have a top loop and a bottom loop. So you're going to pull the yarn through the first top loop, and then you're going to push your hook back up. You have 2 loops in your crochet hook. You're going to grab onto that yarn again and pull it through both loops. So we're going to do this again in the same single crochet. So again, put your hook through the first stitch, grab onto that working yarn, pull it through the top loop. You got 2 loops on your crochet hook, and then you're going to grab the working yarn and pull it through both of them. So we're going to do this about 4 times. So we're going to use our crochet stopper to kind of keep track of where we are in our round. So for round 3, we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. So we're going to follow this pattern until we go all the way around the ring. So make sure when you do your single crochet, you put it through the entire stitch. So it's going to be this top loop right here and then the bottom one. That is the entire stitch. So we do 1 single crochet, and then an increase. So remember, increase is 2 stitches in the same, or 2 single crochets in the same stitch. All right, so for round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase. So we're going to follow this pattern until we go all around the ring. So we do 1, 2, and then we're going to do our increase. All right, so that concludes the center of our flower. So we're going to go ahead and cut the working yarn. And then we're going to pull the string through this little hole to kind of seal it. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is our petals. So you're going to make a total of 6 of these, but I'm just going to show you how to do one. So let's go ahead and grab our white yarn. And so let's go ahead and do our slip knot again. All right, so for the petals, we're going to start with 4 chains and then form a ring. So to form the ring, we're going to put our crochet hook into the first stitch and then pull it through. And then for round 2, we're going to do 4 single crochets. So for round 3, we're going to do 4 increases. So remember, an increase is when we put 2 crochets into, or 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So for round 4, we're going to do a single crochet and an increase. So we're going to follow this pattern until we get all the way around the ring. Alright, so for rounds 5 through 7, we're going to do single crochets. So we're going to just do single crochets around the ring 3 times. So for round 8, we're going to do a single crochet and a decrease. So we're going to follow this pattern until we go all the way around the ring. So we'll start with our first single crochet, and then to decrease, you're going to put your crochet hook into the first stitch next to it where the working yarn is coming out of. So it would be the stitch right here. We're going to grab onto that yarn, have the hook facing away from your hand, towards your hand, pull it through the stitch, and then we have 2 loops on our crochet hook. And then we're going to stick our crochet hook into the next stitch, grab onto that yarn, pull it through the stitch. We got 3 loops on our crochet hook. And then we're going to pull the working yarn through all 3 loops. So what this does is it shrinks the hole or ring. So we're going to follow this pattern all the way till we get to our crochet stopper. So the next thing we're going to do is flip our crochet project inside out like this. We can kind of trim the string or tuck it in there. I like to just tuck it in there. All right, and then for the next round, which is about round 10, we're just going to do decreases all the way around. And so what this is going to do is it's going to close our flower petal. All right, so this concludes our flower petal. So we're going to go ahead and cut the working yarn, pull it through that little loop, and tighten it. All right, and now we're going to sew it onto our blanket. So the easiest way I find to do this is to first kind of tie the flower petals together and trim it. And then we sew it onto the blanket and then sew this on the top, so the center of the flower on the top. So let's go ahead and get each one of these little flower petals laid out. All right, let's go ahead and sew it onto the baby blanket. So what I like to do is to very gently place it on there. And I'm going to stick my flower over here so we have plenty of room. All right, so go ahead and lay the petals down. All right, so what I do is I take the, let's try to center this a little bit better. All right, so I attach my crochet needle to white yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the flowers by sewing this yarn into each petal. Now you want to try to keep it as close to the ends of the petal as you can so that when you put your center in there, nobody will see your work. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll kind of tie it in here. And then kind of push this through and trim it. All right, the next thing we're going to do is sew on the top of the flower. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching my tutorial. Feel free to comment below anything that you would like me to crochet in the future or any tips to help improve my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a great evening.